When death comes flying, the red dust of Titan 7 swirled around Captain David Chen as explosions rocked the mining colony. His tactical visor displayed the grim numbers: 200 human defenders against 800 Zarian warriors. The odds were impossible, but retreat wasn't an option. Too many civilians were still trapped in the underground shelters. Chen pressed his back against the twisted metal of a destroyed transport vehicle. His rifle felt heavy in his hands after 6 hours of continuous fighting. Zarian forces had superior technology, but humans had something else: the stubborn refusal to give up when lives were at stake. "Captain, we're getting word from command." Lieutenant Rodriguez crouched beside him, her cum unit crackling with static. "There's a Zarian diplomatic ship requesting permission to land. They say they have Queen Zareth aboard." Chen's eyes widened. Queen Zareth H was the most powerful ruler in the Zarian Empire. Her presence here could mean either a total victory for the aliens, or perhaps a chance for peace. "Tell them they have permission to land in the neutral zone, but keep weapons hot." This could be a trap. The massive Zarian ship descended like a silver mountain, its hull gleaming despite the battle smoke. Chen had never seen anything so beautiful or terrifying. As the landing ramp lowered, a figure emerged that made Chen's breath catch in his throat. Queen Zareth H stood 7 feet tall, her crystalline blue skin reflecting the harsh sunlight like living sapphires. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes held the depth of ancient oceans. She wore robes that seemed to shift color with her movements, and a crown of pure energy floated above her head. But what struck Chen most was the sadness in her expression. This was not the face of a conqueror, but of someone who had seen too much war. The queen walked forward with graceful steps, flanked by her royal guard. Commander Kex, her massive bodyguard, scanned the area with eyes like burning coals. Then came Dr. Sarah Martinez, a human diplomat who had been captured 3 months ago. Chen was surprised to see her walking freely, apparently unharmed. "I have come to end this fighting," Queen Zareth's voice carried across the battlefield without any amplification. Somehow, Chen could understand her words perfectly, though she spoke in her native tongue. "Too much blood has been spilled on both sides. We must find another way." Chen stepped forward, his rifle lowered but ready. "Your Majesty, I'm Captain David Chen of the Terran Defense Force. If you truly want peace, we're willing to listen." The Queen's alien features shifted into what Chen realized was a smile. "Captain Chen, your reputation precedes you. I've heard of your courage in protecting the civilian evacuations on Europa Station. Is why I chose to come here personally." As they spoke, Chen noticed movement in the shadows behind the Queen's group. His combat instincts screamed danger. 3 figures in black armor were raising weapons that looked like crossbows, but with energy crackling along their tips. Plasma arrows, weapons that could punch through military armor like paper, ambush. Chen shouted, but he was already moving. The attackers weren't Zarian regulars. Their armor was wrong, their weapons too primitive. These were rebels, extremists from within the Zarian Empire who wanted the war to continue. Time slowed as Chen saw the plasma arrows launch toward Queen Zareth. The first arrow aimed for her heart, the second for her head, the third for her spine. She was turning, her guard was reacting, but they were all too slow. The arrows would find their mark in less than 2 seconds. Chen didn't think about the consequences. He didn't calculate the odds of survival. Simply moved, throwing himself between the Queen and the deadly projectiles. His body was a shield, nothing more, nothing less. The first plasma arrow hit his chest with the force of a sledgehammer. The energy burned through his armor like it was made of paper, searing flesh and cracking ribs. The second arrow caught his left shoulder, spinning him around as the plasma ate through muscle and bone. The third arrow meant for the Queen's spine struck his right thigh instead, sending him crashing to the ground. Pain exploded through Chen's body like white-hot fire. His vision blurred, and he could taste copper in his mouth. But he had done it. Queen Zareth was alive, staring down at him with eyes wide with shock and something else: respect. "You foolish, brave human," she whispered, kneeling beside him. Her hands began to glow with soft blue light as she placed them on his wounds. "Why would you do this for me?" "We are enemies." Chen tried to speak, but blood filled his throat. He managed to whisper, not ... enemies, just ... people who forgot ... how to talk. Queen Zarath's healing powers slowed the plasma burns, but Chen was fading fast. Around them, the battle had stopped. Zarian and human forces alike stared in stunned silence at the human who had thrown himself in front of death to save an alien queen. Commander, X's voice boomed across the field as he captured the assassins. Zarian rebels, traitors to the crown, seek to continue this war for their own gain. The queen's healing light pulsed stronger, and Chen felt his pain ease slightly. You will not die on my watch, Captain Chen. I owe you a debt that cannot be repaid with mere words. As medical teams from both sides rushed to help, Chen felt consciousness slipping away. The last thing he saw was Queen Zarath's face, tears of liquid crystal falling from her eyes. The last thing he heard was her voice, speaking words in her language that somehow he understood perfectly. Sleep now, brave one. When you wake, you will find that your sacrifice has changed everything. The battlefield fell silent, except for the whisper of wind through the wreckage. But something fundamental had shifted in that moment. The plasma arrows that had been meant to kill had instead forged the first link in a chain that would bind to species, together in ways neither could. Have imagined Chen's body was carefully lifted onto a Zarian medical transport, his life sustained by technology beyond human understanding. As the ship lifted off toward the Queen's flagship, soldiers from both armies watched in respectful silence. They had witnessed something that would be remembered long after the last gun fell silent, the moment when a human chose to die so that peace might live. But Captain David Chen was not dead. Not yet. The Queen's healing powers had bought him time, and her advanced medical technology would do the rest. What he would wake up to, however, would be a universe changed by his single act of courage. The arrows had been meant to kill hope. Instead, they had created it. When enemies become allies, David Chen awoke to the sound of gentle humming and the sensation of floating in warm water. His eyes fluttered open to find himself in a tank filled with glowing blue liquid. Panic seized him for a moment before he realized he could breathe normally. The liquid was somehow providing oxygen directly to his lungs. Through the transparent walls of the healing tank, he could see a room unlike anything on Earth. The walls curved seamlessly, made of what looked like living crystal that pulsed with soft, bioluminescent patterns. Floating platforms served as furniture, adjusting their height and angle automatically. It was beautiful and alien in ways that made Chen's mind struggle to process what he was seeing. You are awake, a familiar voice said. Queen Zarath stepped into view, her crystalline features softer than Chen remembered. She wore simpler robes now, deep blue with silver threading that matched her hair. The healing fluids have repaired most of the damage. Your species has remarkable resilience. Chen tried to speak, but found his voice wouldn't work in the liquid. The Queen seemed to understand his confusion and pressed a control on the tank's side. The liquid began to drain, and Chen felt solid ground beneath his feet as the tank opened. Easy, Queen Zarath said, offering her hand to help him step out. Your body is still adjusting to the cellular repairs. The plasma arrows should have killed you instantly, but somehow you survived long enough for my healing to take effect. Chen accepted her help, surprised by the warmth of her alien skin. His body felt strange, stronger than before, but different. Looking down, he saw that his wounds had healed completely, leaving only faint silver lines where the arrows had struck. How long was I unconscious? He asked, his voice hoarse. 3 Earth days, the Queen replied, guiding him to a floating chair that adjusted perfectly to his body. Long enough for your sacrifice to reach every corner of both our empires? The story of the human who threw himself in front of arrows to save an alien queen has spread across 1,000 worlds. Chen rubbed his temples, trying to process this information. And the fighting on Titan 7 ended the moment you fell, Queen Zarath said, her voice carrying a note of wonder. Both sides laid down their weapons. How could they continue killing after witnessing such an act of selfless courage? Your Lieutenant Rodriguez and my Commander Kex have been working together to coordinate relief efforts for the survivors. A soft chime announced the arrival of another person. Dr. Sarah Martinez entered the room, her face lighting up when she saw Chen sitting up. "Captain, thank goodness you're all right," she said, rushing to his side. "When we saw you fall, we thought we'd lost you, Dr. Martinez," Chen said, relief evident in his voice. "I'm glad to see you're unharmed. When you were captured, we feared the worst." Sarah glanced at Queen Zareth, who nodded encouragingly. "That's something we need to discuss, Captain. My capture wasn't quite what it seemed. Queen's forces rescued me from the same rebels who tried to assassinate her. I've been working as a cultural liaison, trying to understand why this war really started." Queen Zaroth moved to what Chen now realized was a star map displaying the galaxy in 3 dimensions. Points of light marked human and Zarian colonies, with red indicators showing conflict zones. "Dr. Martinez has helped me understand something troubling," the Queen said, her voice growing serious. "This war was not born from natural expansion, conflicts, or resource disputes. Someone has been manipulating both our species, feeding us false information and staging attacks to prevent any possibility of peace." Chen studied the map, his military mind analyzing the pattern of conflicts. The attacks were always just provocative enough to prevent serious peace talks, but never devastating enough to end the war quickly. "Someone wanted us fighting, but not finishing." "Exactly," Sarah said. "I've been analyzing communication, intercepts, and battle reports. There's a third party involved, someone with technology advanced enough to impersonate our signals and theirs. They've been playing us against each other." Queen Zarotha's expression grew grim. "The rebels who tried to kill me were being supplied with weapons and intelligence by this unknown enemy. My own security forces found evidence of outside manipulation in their communications." Chen stood up, testing his balance. The strange strength he felt was becoming more apparent. "Your healing process. It did more than just repair the damage, didn't it?" The Queen nodded slowly. "Zarian, healing technology doesn't just fix what was broken. It improves upon the original design. Your human resilience, combined with our cellular enhancement, has made you stronger than either species alone could be. You're something new, Captain Chen, a bridge between our worlds." The implications hit Chen like a physical blow. "You're saying I'm no longer fully human?" "You are more human than ever," Queen Zareth said firmly. "The essence of what makes you who you are, your courage, your compassion, your willingness to sacrifice for others, these things are stronger now, not weaker. The physical changes merely allow you to act on these qualities more effectively." Sarah leaned forward, her scientific curiosity evident. "The Queen's people have been studying the genetic compatibility between our species. The healing process you underwent could be the key to not just peace, but to both our people's survival against this unknown threat." Queen Zareth manipulated the star map, showing new data streams. "Our intelligence indicates that whoever is behind this manipulation has been preparing for the moment when humans and Zarians finally weakened each other enough for them to move openly. They've been building a fleet in the dark space between galaxies." Chen studied the projected enemy positions. "How big a fleet? Large enough to conquer both our empires? If we're still fighting each other when they arrive?" the Queen said grimly. "But if we unite our forces, if we combine human ingenuity with Zarian technology, ... we might have a chance," Chen finished. "But convincing two species who've been at war for 3 years to suddenly become allies won't be easy." Queen Zaroth smiled, the expression transforming her alien features into something almost human. "That's where you come in, Captain. You've already done the impossible once. Your actions on Titan 7 prove that humans and Zarians can trust each other, can fight for each other, can even die for each other." Sarah pulled up holographic displays showing news feeds from across human space. "David, you need to see this. Your sacrifice has become a symbol. On Earth, on Mars, on every human. Colony people are questioning whether this war is worth fighting. They're asking why we're killing beings capable of the honor and courage that Queen Zareth showed in saving your life." The displays shifted to show Zarian territories where similar scenes were playing out. "And among my people," Queen Zareth added, "they speak of the human who valued a stranger's life more than his own. They ask how we can be enemies with a species capable of such nobility." Chen walked to the viewing portal and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an unknown enemy was preparing to destroy everything both species had built. But here, in this room, 3 people from 2 different worlds were planning to do something that had never been done before: unite their civilizations against a common threat. "What do you need me to do?" he asked Queen Zareth. And Dr. Martinez exchanged glances. "We need you to do what you do best, Captain," the Queen said. "We need you to be the bridge. Your transformation makes you living proof that our species can not only coexist, but become something greater together." Chen turned back to face them, decision crystallizing in his mind. "Then let's get to work. We have a war to end and an enemy to face. If my sacrifice can help make that happen, then it was worth every arrow that hit me." The Queen's crystalline tears caught the light as she smiled. "The reward for your sacrifice, Captain Chen, is not just your life. It is the chance to save 2 worlds and create something entirely new." As the 3 of them began planning their campaign to unite the galaxy, Chen realized that his ordeal was far from over. But looking at the respect and hope in the eyes of both his human colleague and the alien Queen, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The arrows had been meant to divide them. Instead, they had forged the strongest alliance the galaxy had ever seen. When sacrifice transforms worlds 2 months after the events on Titan VII, the galaxy held its breath. The impossible was happening. Human and Zarian fleets were massing together at the edge of known space, preparing for a battle that would determine the fate of both civilizations. Captain David Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony, first ship ever designed, jointly by human and Zarian engineers. His uniform bore the insignia of both species, the human eagle and the Zarian crystal star, intertwined. The physical changes from his healing were subtle but significant. His reflexes were faster, strength greater, and most remarkably, he could now understand and speak any language after hearing it once. "Enemy fleet contact confirmed," reported Lieutenant Rodriguez, now serving as his tactical officer. "They're even bigger than our estimates suggested. 3,000 vessels of unknown design emerging from dark space." Queen Zarath materialized beside Chen through the Zarian ship's matter transporter. Her expression was grim as she studied the tactical displays. "The Void Collective," she said. "That's what they call themselves. Ancient beings who consume entire civilizations for their resources and technology." Chen studied the enemy formation. The ships were massive, dark triangular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Long enough to learn our weaknesses," the Queen replied. "They've been feeding on the conflicts between species for millennia. War makes civilizations predictable, easier to harvest." Dr. Sarah Martinez joined them on the bridge, her role now expanded to Chief Cultural Integration Officer. "The good news is that our combined fleet is more than either species could have fielded alone. The bad news is that it's still not enough if we fight conventionally." Chen nodded, having reached the same conclusion. "Need to do something they don't expect, something that breaks their understanding of how we operate." "You have a plan," Queen Zarath said, reading his expression. "I have an idea," Chen corrected. "But it's going to require the kind of trust between our species that we've never had before." On the main display, the enemy fleet began to spread out in what Chen recognized as an encirclement formation. The Void Collective was planning to surround the combined human-Zarian force and destroy them slowly. Savoring the fear and desperation, "They expect us to fight as 2 separate fleets," Chen said, moving to the central command console. "Humans using hit-and-run tactics, Zarians using their superior shields and energy weapons. But what if we don't?" Queen Zarath's eyes began to glow with understanding. "You want to integrate completely. It's not just coordination, but true fusion of our capabilities. Every human ship paired with a Zarian vessel," Chen continued.
"How Zarian?"
"Shields protecting human mobility, human tactics enhanced by Zarian firepower. But more than that, we use the quantum entanglement communication your people developed, make our entire fleet think and act as one organism." Sarah looked worried. "David, that level of integration, if it works, it would be beautiful. But if it fails, we lose everything at once. If we fight separately, we lose anyway, Chen said firmly. The Void Collective has been studying us for years. They know how humans fight. They know how Xerians fight. But they've never seen us fight as one people. Commander Kex's voice rumbled through the communication system from his position aboard the Xerian flagship. The Queen's Guard stands ready to trust human judgment. Captain Shun's sacrifice has earned our absolute loyalty. Queen Zeroth placed her hand on Shun's shoulder. The Royal Fleet will follow your lead, Captain. Show us how to turn your sacrifice into victory. Chen activated the fleet-wide communication system. On screens throughout the combined armada, his face appeared before thousands of human and Xerian crew members. 2 months ago, I threw myself in front of 3 arrows to save Queen Zeroth's life, he began. I didn't think about the consequences. I just knew that peace was worth any price. Today, I'm asking all of you to throw yourselves in front of something much bigger, the destruction of everything we hold dear. He paused, seeing the faces of beings from 2 different worlds united in purpose. The enemy believes they understand us. They think humans are reckless and Xerians are rigid. They think we'll fight the way we always have. But we're not the same species that went to war 3 years ago. We've learned that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. The fleet began to move, human and Xerian ships pairing off in perfect synchronization. Chen felt a surge of pride as he watched former enemies working together with precision that would have been impossible just months before. Quantum Entanglement Network active, reported the ship's AI now enhanced with Xerian consciousness technology. All vessels linked. Fleet operating as single entity. The enemy fleet moved to intercept, their dark ships accelerating with frightening speed. Chen could see their strategy. They planned to overwhelm the Allied fleet with superior numbers in technology. Now Chen said quietly, what happened next had never been seen in galactic warfare. The human Xerian fleet moved like a school of fish, each ship knowing instinctively where every other ship would be. Human fighters darted between Xerian capital ships, their movements protected by energy shields that adapted in real time.
Xerian.
Beam weapons fired through gaps created by human maneuvering, their targeting enhanced by human tactical algorithms. The Void Collective's perfect formation shattered as the Allied fleet flowed around their attacks like water around rocks. Ships that should have been destroyed survived behind shifting shields. Weapons that should have missed found their targets through impossible angles. Impossible, the enemy commander's voice crackled through space, speaking in a language that Chen somehow understood. 2 species cannot achieve such unity. It violates all natural law. Then you understand nothing about humanity, Chen replied over the open channel. We don't follow natural law. We create our own. The battle turned into a dance of light and metal, with the Allied fleet moving as one organism with 2 hearts. Human creativity and adaptability merged with Xerian discipline and power, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Queen Zeroth watched the displays with wonder. This is beyond anything I imagined. Your species' gift for improvisation, combined with our technological precision. We're not just winning, we're evolving. The enemy fleet began to withdraw, their dark ships retreating toward the edge of the system, but Chen wasn't finished. Sarah, can you establish communication with the civilian populations they've conquered? Already working on it, she replied, her fingers flying over the communication controls. If we can reach their slave worlds, show them that resistance is possible. The plan worked better than anyone had hoped. As news of the victory spread through the Void Collective's territory, enslaved populations rose in rebellion. The ancient enemy that had consumed civilizations for millennia found themselves fighting a war on 1,000 fronts. 6 months later, Chen stood in the Unity Plaza on the space station that now served as the capital of the Human Xerian Alliance. The ceremony taking place had been unthinkable just a year before. The formal wedding of Captain David Chin and Queen Zeroth. I never imagined when I threw myself in front of those arrows that I was throwing myself toward this, Chen said, looking into his bride's crystalline eyes. Your sacrifice taught both our peoples that love is stronger than fear, Zeroth replied. And now our union will create something new, a generation that belongs to both worlds and neither. Dr. Martinez, now serving as the Alliance's first director of Integrated Sciences, smiled as she watched the ceremony. The children of this union would be something unprecedented beings who could bridge not just the gap between human and Zarian, but between any species they encountered. As the ceremony concluded and the new couple looked out at the celebrating crowd of humans and Zarians, Chen reflected on the journey that had brought them here. 3 plasma arrows had been meant to kill hope and prolong war. Instead, it created the strongest alliance in galactic history. The reward for his sacrifice hadn't been healing or enhanced abilities or even love, though all of those had come. The real reward was seeing 2 species learn to trust each other completely, to fight as one, to build a future together that was brighter than either could have achieved alone. In the years that followed, the Human-Zarian alliance would grow to include dozens of species. The principles Chen had embodied, that sacrifice for others creates strength, that differences can be bridges rather than barriers, that courage can transform enemies into family, would become the foundation of a galactic civilization. But it all began with a single moment when a human captain decided that some things were worth dying for. The arrows had been meant to end everything. Instead, they'd started something beautiful. Years later, when children of both species learned about the Great War and the peace that followed, they would always ask about the moment when Captain Chen threw himself in front of the arrows. Or teachers would tell them that true courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite fear when others need protecting. And somewhere in the stars, in the expanding peace of the Alliance, 3 arrows remained on display in the Museum of Unity, a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories come not from what we destroy, but from what we're willing to sacrifice. To create, the shield-bearer had found his reward, and it was worth every arrow. Every moment of pain, every risk he had taken. In saving one life, he had saved countless others. In choosing love over fear, he had chosen the future over the past. The arrows had been aimed at death, but they had found life instead. When legends shaped tomorrow, 5 years had passed since the great victory over the Void Collective, and the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. Captain David Chen, now Admiral Chen, of the Alliance fleet, stood in his office aboard the massive space station New Harmony, watching construction ships from a dozen species working together to build the next generation of exploration vessels. His reflection in the viewing port showed the changes time had brought. The silver lines where the plasma arrows had struck him now glowed faintly with Zarian energy, marking him as one of the first successful human-alien hybrid healings. His hair had streaks of silver despite his young age, and his eyes held depths that spoke of seeing wonders beyond imagination. Admiral, came the melodic voice of his wife, Queen Zareth. Though she now preferred the title Director of Integrated Sciences, she entered carrying their 2-year-old son, Marcus Zeph Chanzarian, whose unique features showed the beautiful blend of both species. The child had his father's determined expression, but his mother's crystalline blue, skin that shifted color with his emotions. The exploration fleet is ready for departure, Zaroth continued, settling Marcus in his favorite spot near the viewing port where he could watch the ships. Captain Rodriguez reports all systems green on the UES Discovery. Dr. Martinez has completed her cultural preparation protocols for first contact with the Andorian Republic. Chen smiled as he watched his son press tiny hands against the transparent aluminum, babbling excitedly at the sight of the ships. Hard to believe we're going from barely surviving contact with each other to reaching out to new species. The Andorian signals were clear, Zareth said, reviewing the data on her tablet. They've been watching our expansion with interest. Their mathematical language suggests they're as advanced as we are, possibly more so in some areas. A soft chime announced another visitor. Dr. Sarah Martinez entered, her hair now showing silver streaks from years of groundbreaking work in interspecies relations. Behind her walked Commander Kex, the massive Zarian warrior who had become Chun's closest friend and advisor. Admiral, we have a situation, Sarah said, her expression serious. The Andorian Republic isn't just interested in peaceful contact. Our long-range sensors have detected massive energy signatures from their space. They're building something big. Kex's rumbling voice filled the room. Our intelligence suggests they have been preparing for contact with us for decades. What there? Preparations appear to be defensive in nature. Chen turned from the viewing port, his military instincts engaging. Defensive against what? We've made our peaceful intentions clear in every transmission. That's just it, Sarah said, activating a holographic display. They're not defending against us. Their messages reference something they call the ancient hunger, a force that consumes galaxies and leaves nothing behind. Zeroth's crystalline features paled. The Void Collective was just a scouting force. There's something larger coming. The hologram showed star charts spanning multiple galaxies, with dark zones marking areas where entire solar systems had simply vanished. The pattern was methodical, terrifying in its scope. The Andorians have been fighting a retreating action. For 300 years, Sarah continued, they've developed technology we can barely understand, but they're losing. That's why they're reaching out to us now. Chen studied the data, his enhanced mind processing possibilities at superhuman speed. They want to form an alliance. Combine our recent experience uniting different species with their advanced defensive technology. It's more than that, Keck said grimly. According to their transmissions, they've been searching for something specific, a species capable of what they call impossible unity. A civilization that can bring together not just 2 or 3 races, but hundreds. Young Marcus chose that moment to speak his first clear words. Together strong. The child's innocent declaration carried a weight that made all the adults pause. Out of the mouths of babes, Chen murmured, lifting his son. He's right, you. No, we've proven that unity makes us stronger than our individual parts. But can we do it on a galactic scale? Zaret H moved to the communication console.
Ow.
There's only one way to find out. I'm approving the deep space mission to Andorian territory. But this time, we go with more than exploration ships. A full diplomatic fleet, Chen agreed. Representatives from every alliance species, showing the Andorians exactly what impossible unity looks like. 3 months later, the largest peaceful armada in galactic history approached the border of Andorian space. 200 vessels, representing 37 different species, moved in perfect formation. Their various designs creating a spectacular display of diversity and cooperation. Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship U.S. Unity, watching as the Andorian home system came into view. What he saw took his breath away. Massive ring structures surrounded every planet, covered in cities that sparkled like jewelry. Space elevators stretched between moons and planets, connected by energy bridges that defied human understanding of physics. Admiral Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from the communications station, "We're receiving a transmission from the Andorian capital." There, you're speaking in perfect alliance standard. The main screen activated to show a being unlike any they had encountered. The Andorian delegate stood 8 feet tall, with skin that looked like polished marble veined with gold. 4 arms moved with graceful precision, while large, multifaceted eyes reflected intelligence beyond measure. "Greetings, Admiral Chen." Of the Humans-Aryan Alliance, the Andorian spoke, its voice a harmony of multiple tones. "I am First Speaker, Quantum 779, of the Andorian Republic. We have waited long for beings capable of your achievements." "First Speaker," Chen replied formally, "we come in peace, seeking friendship and mutual understanding between our peoples." "Peace," the Andorian repeated, its crystalline features shifting into what might have been a smile. "Yes, we have studied. Your transformation from enemies to allies to family?"
Oh, most remarkable.
"Most necessary for what is coming."
As the screen shifted to show images that made Chen's blood run cold.
Entire star systems being consumed by darkness, their matter converted into incomprehensible structures. Fleet battles where billions of ships fought against entities that seemed to bend reality itself. "The ancient hunger approaches," Quanta 779 continued. "Not the Void Collective you defeated, they were merely the smallest tendril of something vast beyond imagination. The true enemy spans multiple galaxies and has been feeding on cosmic energy for millions of years." Zaret stepped forward. "How long do we have?" "By our calculations, the main force will reach this galaxy in 7 of your years. But that assumes they maintain their current rate of consumption, if they accelerate." The Andorian's forearms moved in what Chen recognized as a gesture of uncertainty. perhaps as little as 3 years. Dr. Martinez activated her cultural analysis protocols. What would you need from us? Our combined fleets are impressive, but against something that consumes galaxies. Not fleets, the Andorian replied. Unity. The ancient hunger feeds on division, on conflict, on the inability of species to truly understand each other. They cannot digest pure cooperation. It is literally toxic to their existence. Chen felt pieces clicking together in his mind. That's why they've been manipulating species into war for so long. Not just to weaken us, but to prevent the kind of unity that could actually threaten them. Precisely. Quantum Sevens, 7-9 said, its multifaceted eyes focusing intently on Chen. Your sacrifice 5 years ago, throwing yourself between weapons and an enemy queen, created something the ancient hunger has never encountered. True, selfless unity between completely different forms of life. The Andorian moved closer to the screen. We have technology that can be shared. Defenses that can protect entire star systems. But technology alone is insufficient. We need teachers who can show hundreds of species how to achieve what you have achieved. Galactic Alliance. Chen breathed. Not just military cooperation, but true unity of purpose. More than that, Zarath added, understanding dawning in her voice. Cultural integration on a scale never before attempted. We're talking about creating a single galactic civilization from thousands of different species. Young Marcus, who had been quietly playing in his mother's arms, suddenly pointed at the screen and spoke clearly. Big family. The Andorian's reaction was immediate and profound. All 4 arms extended toward the screen, and its voice carried a note of wonder. The offspring speaks truth. Galactic family bound not by conquest but by choice. Over the following months, the most ambitious project in galactic history began. The Unity Protocol, as it came to be known, established cultural exchange programs between hundreds of species. Chen found himself traveling constantly, sharing the story of his sacrifice and the lessons learned from human-Zarian integration. On the water world of Aquatica, he taught proud mare warriors how human stubborn determination could complement their fluid grace. On the crystal mountains of Resonance Prime, he showed singing stone beings how Zarian mental discipline could enhance their harmonic communication. Each world presented new challenges, new opportunities for understanding. Chen discovered that his transformation had given him more than enhanced abilities. He had become a living bridge, capable of finding common ground between even the most different species. The work was exhausting, sometimes dangerous, and often frustrating. Some species resisted integration, preferring isolation. Others agreed in principle but struggled with practical implementation. Chen lost count of the number of times he had to prevent conflicts between traditional enemies who were now supposed to be allies. But slowly, miraculously, it worked. The Unity Protocol created bonds between species that had never spoken to each other. Trade routes became cultural highways. Military alliances evolved into shared governments. Languages began to merge, creating new forms of communication that enhanced rather than replaced existing ones. 2 years into the project, Chen received word that changed everything. Long-range sensors had detected the ancient hunger's advanced scouts, dark entities that consumed space itself, leaving voids where star systems used to exist, standing once again on the bridge of the UES Unity, now commanding the largest fleet. In galactic history, Chen watched as representatives from over 300 species prepared for humanity's greatest test. The ships themselves were marvels of integrated technology, Andorian shields powered by human fusion cores, Zarian weapons guided by Aquatican neural networks, all controlled by artificial intelligences that incorporated the thinking patterns of dozens of species. Admiral, came the voice of Captain Rodriguez, now commanding her own dreadnought. All fleets report ready. The Unity network is active across 700 worlds. Chen looked at his wife and son, knowing that the outcome of the coming battle would determine whether their child grew up in a universe of infinite possibility or terrible darkness. This is Admiral Chen to all Unity fleet vessels, he broadcast to the massive armada. 5 years ago, I threw myself in front of 3 arrows to save 1 life. Today we throw ourselves in front of something much larger to save all life. We don't go alone. We go as one people, one family, one unified force for hope. As the fleet moved toward the edge of known space to meet the ancient hunger, Chen reflected on how far they had all come. The arrows that had nearly killed him had started a chain reaction that transformed not just a species, but an entire galaxy. The real battle was about to begin. But looking at the impossible unity spread across thousands of ships and millions of crew members, Chen felt something he had never expected when he first threw himself into danger. Certainty. They would win because they had learned something the ancient hunger could never understand. Love was stronger than fear. Unity was stronger than division. And sometimes, the greatest victories came not from what you were willing to destroy, but from what you were willing to sacrifice to create. The arrows had been just the beginning.